Hello and welcome back. So Louis XV of France had rather a lot of mistresses, but did you know that 4 of the mistresses were actually sisters? They were the de Mailly sisters. They were the daughters of Louis de Mailly, Marquess de Nel, et de Mailly, Prince d'Orange. So because their mother was lady-in-waiting to the Queen, the daughters spent a little bit of time at court, and this was where they were noticed by Louis. So the first of the sisters to become Louis's mistress was Louise Julie. Louise Julie was the eldest of the de Mailly sisters. She was born in 1710, and in 1726 she married her father's cousin, Louis Alexandre Comte de Mailly. In 1929 she became lady-in-waiting to the Queen. Louise was described as a thin beauty with a perfect oval face and dark eyes with marked eyebrows. Personality-wise, she was good-tempered, witty and entertaining at social occasions. At court, she was promoted by the King's Chief Minister, Cardinal Fleury, as a mistress for the King. Louise soon fell in love with Louis, and by 1732 she was his mistress. But Louise was quite a private person, and she did want to keep her affair with the King more private, so she wasn't announced as his mistress for another 6 years. During that time, the people knew the King had a mistress, but obviously they didn't know who she was, so she was just known as the Fair Unknown. To keep her relationship with the King a sort of secret, Louise would only visit the King's apartments at night, and she would keep her face covered so that she wouldn't be recognised. In 1738 it came out that Louise was Louis' mistress, so he had her moved into apartments next to his. But Louise did not like the attention that being Louis' mistress brought her, and she just preferred to stay in the background. So in 1739, Louise's sister Pauline came to court, and she soon caught Louis' eye. And she soon became Louis' mistress, but after her death, Louise went back to being Louis' mistress. But then another of her sisters, Marianne, arrived, and she became Louis' mistress instead. So Louise left the Versailles court in 1742, and she retired to a convent in Paris. And it was in this convent that Louise died in March 1751, aged 41. So the second of the de Mailly sisters to become Louis' mistress was Pauline Felicity. She was the second eldest of the sisters, being born in 1712. Now, Pauline was absolutely intent on seducing the King and becoming his mistress, as she persuaded her elder sister Louise to invite her to court. Louise, being the nice sister that she was, did so, and Pauline soon caught the King's eye, with Louis falling in love with her. So Louis arranged for Pauline to marry Jean-Baptiste de Vintimille in 1739, but straight after the wedding, Jean-Baptiste left the country. So Pauline couldn't have been any different to her sister. She was described as taller, louder and wittier than her sister, and Pauline loved the attention that being Louis' mistress brought her. So Pauline ended up becoming pregnant with Louis' son, and she gave birth to him on the 2nd of September 1741. But sadly, a few days after, Pauline died on the 9th of September. So Pauline's body was placed at Lit de Parade in the town of Versailles. But during the night, a mob broke in and mutilated the body of the King's whore. So the next of the sisters to become Louis' mistress was the very youngest of the sisters, Marianne. In 1734 she had married Jean-Baptiste Louis Marquess de la Tournelle, but after the death of Pauline she joined Louise at court. Marianne soon became Louis' main mistress, and in doing so she managed to get Louise expelled from the court. So personality-wise, Marianne was very demanding, and she actually presented Louis with this list of demands. So the demands included her being made a duchess, which she was in October 1743, and also a marriage for her favourite sister, Diane. So Marianne died on the 8th of December 1744. She had suffered from convulsive pains and cramps, and she was actually convinced that she had been poisoned. So after the death of and Louis consoled himself with another of the de Mailly sisters. She was Diane Adelaide, and she was the third of the sisters. So Diane first came to court after her arranged marriage that Marianne had arranged for her, and then soon after arriving at court she caught the eye of Louis like all the sisters had. So Diane and Marianne would often visit King Louis together, which caused rumours to spread saying that the sisters were entertaining the king together. But Diane's relationship with the king didn't last long because she was obviously a rebound. So she left court and lived quietly in Paris until her death in 1769, aged 55. Now, there was actually a fifth sister, but this sister did not become a mistress of Louis. She was Hortense Felicity, and she was the fourth of the sisters. So there was speculation that Hortense might become Louis's mistress, obviously because all her sisters had, but she never did. And she didn't want to. She was just enjoying her time at court and the independence it gave her away from her husband, who she was very unhappily married to. So Hortense was actually imprisoned towards the end of the French Revolution, but she was actually saved from execution. She was released from prison in 1794 and died in 1799. So that's just a little video about how Louis XV kept it in a family. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, like and subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Bye.